So, hello everyone, and right after lunchtime, I'm very happy to announce our second keynote speaker, Shai Popat from SIX, who will share his views on embracing AI, actually. Shai, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for that, and welcome, and thank you to the brave few who've braved the warm room after lunch. I was wondering how many people would be here, so good start, and thank you. So, yeah, my name's Shai Popat. I am responsible for the product and commercial groups of SIX Financial, which sits in SIX Group. So as SIX Group, we run the financial market infrastructure for the Swiss and Spanish markets. We also run the securities and payments business. And I hail from the financial information business. So as a market data vendor, our history stems back over 90 years, providing all manner of data, be that reference data, corporate actions, indexes, funds, ESG. And as we think about our purpose of trying to make our clients more competitive, and as we start to think about how we can make a difference with data, we are really focused on how we can leverage technology. And the much hyped topic, which no event organizer dare not put on their agenda these days, which is, of course, artificial intelligence. And I want to talk a little bit about the journey we're going on as a society, where we are now, where we potentially go in the future. And before I start, if I may, I just want to share an observation that I made at the weekend. So I walked into the kitchen to talk to my 15-year-old son, and as with all teenagers, I talked and he stared at his phone, ignoring me. But I watched him, and he obviously used Face ID to open up his phone. He then went on to watch numerous ridiculous videos on Snapchat and Instagram and TikTok, all suggested to him by those platforms. He then went on to Google to search for some new headphones that he's been dying to buy, and asked me if he could buy the electric scooter that had been suggested to him by that platform. The answer was no, just in case you're wondering. And if he could have, he would have asked Alexa to tell his dad to shut up, leave the room, and leave him in peace. And as I watched him, I was thinking, that's all AI, right? And my 15-year-old son has no concept of a world in which AI doesn't exist. It's in everything he touches, everything he interacts with. And so I thought about that, and I wondered that it was quite odd that if our children in the next generation only know a world in which artificial intelligence exists, then why are we so hesitant about it? And herein lies the main problem, ladies and gentlemen. We kind of sit in two camps. We're split into two camps. There may be more, but the two key ones, on the one hand, you have people who are embracing AI, certainly building products and services with the technology, but are so worried that strategic decision-making will be taken away, it kind of holds them back a little bit. On the other hand, you have the camp of people who are getting pressure from the board, pressure from clients, invest in AI, build AI products, but without a clear objective on how to do so, they again also stand back a little bit. Interestingly, there's this misconception that artificial intelligence is new. It really isn't, right? It's been around for decades. What is new is the way we are beginning to perceive it and the way that we're beginning to talk about it. So let's talk about this myth of how old or new artificial intelligence is. Actually, the roots of AI began in the 1950s when pioneers began to play with algorithms and machine learning. Actually, if you think about chatbots, many of you might think chatbots are quite a new thing. The first chatbot, Eliza, was created in 1966 by the German Joseph Eisenbaum from Berlin. Business applications of AI actually took off in the 80s in expert systems, in risk management systems. And then towards the end of the 90s, Deep Blue, the supercomputer, beat Garry Kasparov, the 3-time world champion of chess. This captivated the world. This was the first time that we began to see artificial intelligence beating human intelligence and one of the greatest minds of our time. And yet, despite this long-standing history, AI seems to be surrounded by sensationalism and, frankly, I would say misconception. We are told that it's the solution to all our problems, but that at the same time we should be careful. We're wary, we're worried, and actually, in some instances, there are reasons to be worried. I was at a dinner last week surrounded by a group of AI professionals, and when I say AI professionals, they knew more about AI than I thought was even possible. So it was great timing for this event, actually. And I sat next to a lady who wasn't a teenager or, in her 20s, more my age, perhaps older, who was telling me about 3 digital twins that she's created. And so I asked her what they were, and she'd created an outdoor one, a sporty one, a professional one, that look and sound exactly like her. So I asked her, why are you doing this? Like, what's the point? And she said, well, within our business, training is a real problem. It's a real issue. And I find myself flying around all over the world. So what she's done is create a digital twin that learns the books that she's read, the articles she's written, the interviews that she gives, and it actually presents back as a mirror image of her character. If you haven't done it before, after this, I would strongly urge you to go online and look up the video of Reid Hoffman, who is the CEO of LinkedIn. He's also created a digital twin, and he does a 15-minute interview where the digital twin, again, has learned every article, every book he's ever written. And you watch it, and you can see the mannerisms, and it's quite incredible where it's going. Yes, there are deep fakes out there. There are fake videos. There's all kinds of crazy things going on. One of the other interesting things that came up in this dinner was intelligence of AI. So if you consider that the average IQ of a human being is 110, at the other end of the extreme, you had Albert Einstein, who had an IQ of 165. Now, I know there are limitations with using IQ as a measure of intelligence, but using it comparatively, when Siri and Google Assistant and such things came out, we thought they were groundbreaking, right? That was fairly recently, and they have an IQ of between 20 and 40. ChatGPT-3 has an IQ of over 130. ChatGPT-4 has an IQ of well in excess of 140. And for those of you with a legal background, you will know how difficult it is to pass the US legal exam, the New York bar. ChatGPT-4 passed it and scored in the 90th percentile, meaning it's better than 90% of human beings at passing the New York bar. So concerns exist. Yes, we should be wary because the power of AI is beyond anything that we can comprehend. There is strong evidence to suggest that the poverty gap will increase. As we have seen with technology over the last 2 decades, the poorer have got poorer, the rich have got richer. And so as a society, that is something that we will have to factor in. Yes, there will be job losses. There is no getting away from that fact. We can see that as AI begins to come in, jobs at the lower end of the scale begin to disappear. And as an industry, it will be on us to try and think about how we continue with job creation. But actually, this is nothing new, right, for society. We've seen it before with technology. Think about railways to roads, typewriters to computers. We constantly feel threatened, but we learn to adapt as a society. Think about the fact that in some instances, people are worried that human expertise will no longer be required. Actually, what we're beginning to see, particularly in the financial sector, is not about removing skilled professionals, but it's about enhancing their capabilities. Picture a search engine powered by a large language model. That doesn't remove the power from the user. What it actually does is removes some of the tasks that they have to do, streamlines some of what they need to do, and ensures that they can get to information really quickly. And this leads me to a crucial point, that practical applications of AI are already making a tangible difference. We can see it across financial institutions where it's driving us towards the ability to make better and more informed decisions faster. But we have to move beyond the theoretical discussion and think about practical use cases. Imagine a world where our support teams don't have to worry about these mundane, repetitive tasks. Instead, what they can do is use their creativity and empathy in every single client interaction that they have. In this narrative, support teams can stand tall, they don't drown in a sea of repetitive tasks, and actually they can continue to think about how they can elevate the support that they give to their clients. And in a way, AI becomes the quiet hero, right? And again, far from removing jobs, what we can see is that our support teams are able to use those most human of characteristics that AI can't replicate, which is creative thinking, critical thinking, and empathy. But the AI revolution doesn't just stop there. It's about also finding strategic advantage. Think of the transformative power of natural language processing, where we're now able to sift through huge amounts of information and find opportunities and insights that were perhaps hidden in the depths before. Picture yourself as a financial expert, tasked with the daunting job of looking at various prices and comparing prices. Again, you can use data mining and AI tools to get to that information in a matter of seconds instead of a matter of minutes. And so in this narrative, AI is not just a tool. It's actually a catalyst for innovation. It's driving us towards efficiency and insight. And the other thing about AI is that it has a significant impact in terms of empowering people right the way across the organization. Instead of having pockets of skills and knowledge, what it's able to do is elevate the entire organization by making it far easier to share the information and insights that exist. A lot of the reason that we think that AI is new is because of this generational shift, right? I mentioned my 15-year-old son earlier. The reality is the buyers and employees of the future are surrounded by AI, right? In every platform, everywhere they look. They don't know any different. And so they will rightfully expect to be able to use it in the future. And so as an industry and as a society, it's on us to factor this in to every product and service development that we make. Perhaps then, AI is actually the next chapter in the opening of the financial market. You know, as recently as in the 1980s, the financial market was kind of limited to the few wealthy individuals, right? They would look for prices, they would call their brokers, they would get the trade done and they'd pop the check in the post. What we saw in the 2000s with the dot-com bubble was the sudden rise of trading platforms, of fund supermarkets. The popularization continued well into the next decade or so. And in fact, as more recently, taken off even further during the pandemic, when in some instances people had a lot more time and also had a lot more financial resources available. And so what we're seeing then is that AI in some instances is beginning to level the playing field. What was really complex to understand, portfolio attribution or the weightings that exist in various investment models, are now available to a lot of people, and it's totally leveled that playing field and opens up a huge other market for us to be thinking about. Still, despite all of these innovations and this advancement, apprehension still exists that machines will make bad decisions. Actually, I think this is less about machines removing decision-making, and I think it's more about augmenting human intelligence. I think it's about thinking about the collective power of man and machine together to make a difference. If the 17 and 1800s were about... Oh, that was a bit too soon, sorry. Clicked too early. If the 17 and 1800s was really about moving from building things with hands to machine, in essence, AI is that for the 21st century. But as we go into this world of innovation and building and creativity, leveraging this technology that has so much power, collaboration will be key. We are seeing a blurring of lines between the fintechs and the data vendors and the larger institutions and the smaller institutions. And it will be so important that we share our insights, that we share our lessons learned, and that we think about best practices around legal aspects and security. And so as we go into this journey, I think it's important that we evolve, that we embrace it, and that actually what we do is we harness the power of it to make a positive change. Now to the last slide. So there's an awful lot to consider and an awful lot to think about. And as I said, at Six, we're really thinking about how we can leverage the technology to make a difference with data. You can see a QR code. We've got a booth up there as well. We'd love to talk to you about what we're doing, but also to hear about what you're doing and perhaps share some ideas. But in the meantime, thank you for sitting through this after lunch. Appreciate the time and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Great.